Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sharon Spurlock, the Senior Director of Family Education at the St. Louis Arc, and I'm very excited to bring this week's Q&A to all of you. I've got a wonderful colleague from the UMSL Office for Inclusive Post-Secondary Education, or OIP, as we lovingly call it, here to talk to you all today about preparing for college. So we're thinking not only about kids that are graduating high school, but freshmen in high school, middle schoolers. You can start thinking about college at any point. And so Caitlin's going to talk a little bit about that. Without any further ado, I'm going to turn things over. And Caitlin, if you can tell our audience a little bit about you, your background, and what you do with the OIP programs at
Yes. Thank you so much, Sharon. So I'm Caitlin. I'm the transition coordinator for the Office of Inclusive Post-Secondary Education. And as Sharon mentioned, that is a mouthful. So we call it OIP, OIPE. So if you hear me say those things, we're just referring to the office that I work with at UMSL. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. So I have a quick presentation that I want to talk to you about, and then answer any of the questions that you have. I'm here today to talk about, are you ready for college? And a little bit more about me. So I'm the transition coordinator at OIPE. My role is to support students and families transitioning into college and helping transition out of college. So what are you going to be doing when you're done? More background about me is that I graduated from UMSL with my Bachelor's of Educational Studies in 2019. And then I graduated my Master's of Adult and Higher Education just last year in 2024. I did add my contact information in case anyone has more specific questions that they want to ask, or if they want to, or if you would like to get involved or meet with me one on one. My contact information is here. And a little bit more about our program. So OIPE started off as a 2-year program called the Succeed program. And that was about 11 years ago. And our program has grown a lot, which is awesome. So that's why we changed our name to Office of Inclusive Post-Secondary Education. All of the students, we have about 80 plus students that get support from our office, are working on all different pathways. So we have our Succeed program. It's a comprehensive transition program where students get do 2 years and they graduate with a chancellor's certificate from the university. Chancellor's certificate is really a completion certificate. You go through our completion requirements, and you take our classes, and then you graduate our program. This pathway supports students with independence with academics, vocational, independent living, and social skills. And throughout our 4 pillars: live, learn, work, and play. We also have the Succeed Plus program, which is an optional pathway for students who have graduated the Succeed program. They can come back for an additional year or longer. And this is where students are working on industry recognized credentials, internal or external, from the university. Some of the certificates could be in IT, animal care, child care, sports management, hospitality, really a lot of different jobs that students want. There's really great certificates that they can work on into getting those jobs and be more prepared for those jobs. So that's what Succeed Plus is really focusing on. And then lastly, we have our link programs where students are, of course, working and gaining independence in our 4 pillars: live, learn, work, and play. But they're working on either an undergrad certificate from the university or a degree. So a bachelor's degree, that traditional 120 credit hours, or an undergrad certificate, which is usually in between 18 to 21 credit hours. Students have weekly coaching sessions with a link advisor from our office. And then we also do 3 link workshops from the ARC 3 times a month. So lots of different support. I wanted to add this in here because when people think of college, they think of that traditional 4-year track. And while yes, that is definitely an option, there's other things as well that you can get a college experience and gain all of those skills that you want in independence. with working on different things, not just a bachelor's degree. So college is an option and is available for everyone, no matter what pathway that you're working on. So next I want to talk about high school versus college. So a lot of times people will think that college is like that traditional, what you see in the movies. It's like a whole bunch of partying and a lot of classes and all those things. But college is really different from what they portray in the movies, and it's really different from high school. So in college, there's a lot of free time. So you maybe have 1 or 2 classes a day, whereas high school, you have your full day is filled with going to one class to the next class to the next. College gives you that opportunity to have more freedom and independence. Um, in college, your classes could be in a room of 150 students, or you can take a really small class where there's only 5 or 6 students. There's a lot of options too in college of what types of classes you want to take, what things that you want to learn is really up to you. So you get to kind of choose what you want to do and what you want to learn about. In high school, you already have a curriculum set for you. Another thing in high school is there's a bell. So I went to a high school a few weeks ago, and students were blown away that there's no bells in college. So class is over when the instructor is done. Sometimes your professor might have to cancel class last minute. Maybe you come in and they do a 20-minute lecture and you work in a group, and then you're done for the day. So the setup and how the structure of classes is also very different from high school. Some things that you can practice is independence and responsibility and time management. So you have a lot of independence and a lot of responsibility when you're in college. You have to learn how to navigate your schedule. That includes also navigating campus. Your time management, again, you might have only one class on a Monday morning, and then you're free the rest of the day. So what are you doing? Are you going to work? Are you going to tutoring? Are you getting extra supports? Are you hanging out with friends? Are you getting some laundry done? All of those time management skills are going to be really important to practice when you have that free time and you're not in class. Another important skill is advocacy. So I don't know what you need unless you tell me. So that is something that I encourage a lot of students to work on now is tell me what you need. How do you work best in different situations? How do you advocate for yourself? That's something really important to learn now before you get in college. There's also a lot of opportunity to learn how to advocate in college as well. Next is accommodations. So knowing what accommodations are helpful for you. So you might be thinking that even if you're in middle school right now, you might have accommodations in your classes, like someone can read the test to you in your class. That's something, accommodations are going to be available to you in college as well, which is really awesome. So I encourage students to use those accommodations like extra test time. Sometimes students get a note taker as well. All of those accommodations are going to be important to be successful in your college career. And accommodations can change every semester. And it's really about what you need at the time. And that kind of ties in with advocacy. So making sure that you know what you need and how to get those accommodations can be super successful. Something that we do in OIPE is a Succeed Summer Enrichment Camp. So this is my favorite time of the year, is our summer camp. It is really like a college experience over the week. So we have a June week and a July week. And you basically come to campus on Monday. You stay overnight in the dorms and get picked up back on Friday. We have workshops that are academics. There's no homework, don't worry. We also have a lot of fun. So we go to the rec center, we do rock climbing, we get to swim, and we do a lot of team building and other just leadership skills that you're learning and how to prepare for college. You're learning how to live in the dorms. You get to meet other students who will be attending college as well. So it's a really great opportunity to really just get prepared and kind of know what to expect whenever you come to college. It also is a really good time for our staff to get to know you as well. So an example is we collect data on students and make sure that we have all of the things that we need to support that student. So an example is a few summers ago, we had to remind students to, hey, you're wearing the same shirt you did yesterday. And it was kind of sweaty. So whenever that student started UMSL and in our program, we already knew that he would be more successful if he had a checklist on his hygiene. That was already set up and good to go when he got to campus, and he mastered those skills and graduated and never really had to worry about it again. So it's a really good opportunity for us to also be prepared to support students as well. We also have our Spring into Transition events. So our first STL Spring into Transition of Summit was on Saturday the 22nd. We had about 160 people attend. It's our first event where we had different tables and vendors where people with different agencies in the community. We also had different colleges there as well. So we had the UMSL admissions there. They had a table. Thrive at UMC was there as well, as well as Pause from Mizzou. So it's a really good opportunity to meet other agencies and other schools in Missouri. We also had different breakout sessions. So we had breakout sessions on employment, healthy relationships, supported decision making, and preparing for college, where we had a student panel talk about their experiences on preparing for college. These are going to be happening every single March. So if you're interested in coming, I definitely suggest going to that event, learning more about how to prepare for college, and get that experience and get that information from actual students in our program. Next, I want to talk about searching for a college. So it's really, you can do that now. No matter what grade you are in, you can really start searching anytime you want. So really what we think in searching for college, some things to look out for is if it's an ideal fit. And that's kind of how I have this chart up here. How far away from home do you want to live? Is it a really big college or is it a small college? What's the atmosphere like? What are the vibes at the college? What type of academics do they have? Do they have degrees or certificates that you are interested in? Where is it located? How am I going to get admitted? Do they look at ACT scores? Or a lot of colleges now have a sliding scale. So looking into how to get admitted into the university, and also, of course, the cost. Is this something that I can afford? Something to remember is that college is not a one size fits all. So if you graduate high school and you're like, you know what, there are still some skills that I want to learn more about. I still want to learn more about advocating for myself and gaining independence. It's okay to take that time off and not go directly into college after high school. You can start college anytime that you want, no matter what age you are. Know what you want and know what you need. Again, with those accommodations and how you best will be supported is something that you need to know. What types of student supports are there? So at UMSL, there's a Disability Access Service office. Those are, that office provides accommodations to our students, like that extra test time or a note taker, or taking a test in a quiet space. What other student supports are there? So like we have our LINK program, where students who are getting a bachelor's degree can still get our support. For student life looks different at every college. So UMSL is a primarily commuter college. However, at dorms, they have their own events that are just for students who live in the dorms. So looking into what is going on college or going on campus and how you can get involved. Also look at residential supports. If you need independent living supports, how can the residential life and housing help you be successful while living away and gaining that independence? And of course, those accommodations. I keep talking about that. Using accommodations and know what to ask for is going to be extremely important to be successful in your classes. And then lastly, visiting campus. Of course, you should visit the campus, talk to students, talk to staff, faculty, talk to anyone that you can to give you a real life experience and feel of how college, that specific college is it an ideal fit? If you're unsure, visit as many times as you can. OIPE does a day in the life visit. So if you're interested in coming to UMSL and getting supports from our office, you can come visit for the day. You can go to some of our classes, hang out with our students, get to ask them any and all the questions, go to lunch with them, see what campus is like, and really get that hands-on experience to know if this would be a good fit or not for you. And lastly, family support. So parents and families are doing this transition as well. Students are not just alone in this transition. It's important that families know how to support your student to gain independence. So first off, dignity of risk. Basically, how are you going to grow and learn from your mistakes? So an example is in your classes, if a student has come to me and said, oh my gosh, I forgot to turn in an assignment last week and I got a 0 for that assignment. Well, I didn't fail the class, you failed that assignment. How can I pick myself up and learn from that to where I don't make that mistake next time? Something about me is that when I first attended UMSL, I did not do very well in my first semester. I struggled a lot. I didn't think that I had to go to class. I didn't think that I really needed to be on campus at all, that I could do all the things on my own. But that actually was not true. So on campus, I found a mentor. I did extra tutoring. I got involved, and I was able to pick myself up and learn from my mistakes to make sure that that didn't happen. Again, and also learning self-determination. Why do you want to be here? Or how do you want to live your life and make really important decisions for yourself and just be an independent person? Something that we do with family support is talking to families about becoming a caretaker, or being a caretaker and becoming an advisor. So if you think about a caretaker, that's somebody who is taking care of their students. So waking them up in the morning, reminding them of their hygiene routine. Hey, you have to do homework right now at 6 o'clock. Those types of things are what a caretaker does. What we're asking our families is to transition into an advisor role. So if a student comes to you, if your student comes to you about, I'm really struggling in this class, a caretaker might, okay, let's sit down and I'm going to help you with your homework. Well, that's great. An advisor is really going to point you in the right direction on who to get support from. Hey, let's contact your coach or your tutor or whoever your mentor is at the university. Let's look into different supports that you could get at UMSL as well, or wherever you're going in college. Really just being an advisor and guiding students and supporting them through any of their decisions and what they're doing versus really being in control, which would be a caretaker. So that's something that we talk a lot about with families. And in terms of communication as well. So our office has a communication protocol where we always want families to be on the same page as us. So we'll email the student and have their family copied on in that email to make sure we're on the same page. And we ask the families to do the same thing. So if your student comes home on the weekends and says that they're struggling with something, we or even if it's a good thing, we want to celebrate something, make sure you're emailing that student and copying us on. That way it's still student-centered. But we also are getting that information and kind of can advise that student on what to do next. That is the end of my presentation. Let me share really quick.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. We've got quite a few questions, so I'm just going to dive into some of those.
Perfect.
Emery mentioned students balancing work and college. Is that something that some of the students choose to do?
Absolutely. So the nice thing about college is that those experiences are really up to you and what you want to do. So a lot of students do pick to work while they're in college. It definitely helps with paying for tuition or paying for their maybe their phone bill or anything like that, maybe their car payment. And that is a lot to balance. So what we work on with our students is time management and those executive functioning skills. So how are we going to make sure that we're starting and finishing your assignments and your organization skills in your classes to make sure that you can go to work and focus on work So yeah, that's definitely something that some of our students, a lot of our students choose to do that we support with.
So someone asked about budgeting, and I can remember decades ago when I went to college that financial responsibility was not one of my skill sets. I had a lot of things to learn. Thinking about preparing to go to college, what are some of the things that people might need to think about and practice before they end up in front of that person offering them the free credit card?
Yes, absolutely. So we definitely suggest having that open communication with your student as soon as possible. So, here's what as a parent, here's what um, I have to show them your bills, I guess. But basically, this is what bills and a budget could look like. This is what a credit card is versus a debit card. Those kind of verbiage and knowing what is going to be helpful. Something that we advise our families to do is to have that student have a bank account. Maybe that bank account is linked through their parents, and their parents can add money or do that. But we like to show students, hey, you spent $20 in the bookstore yesterday. Um, you know, if you do that every week, it's going to subtract $20 and kind of do the math and show them in real life, like, hey, this is what your balance is going to be. And the same thing with working, hey, you got paid $400 last week. You need to pay your phone bill. You need to make sure you're paying this and this, and actually showing them um what a bank account looks like and how it works before they come to college is going to give them an easier time transitioning to college.
Yeah, I think that those skills are so easy to start working on before college, whether you choose to have your family member have a cap debit card where
Yep.
they know this is how much money I have to spend during the week, whether they have to earn their own money for, special things that they want to participate. I think there's a lot of ways to start building that financial understanding and financial savvy. Same thing with social skills. I think one of the things families fear is being in that campus environment with lots of time on your hands and lots of maybe temptations around social settings. What kind of supports and skills do you think people can start to build prior to college?
Oh, I love this. Yes. So, something that I suggest that might be a little awkward, but role playing those types of scenarios or situations. And that doesn't even have to be with a parent, but maybe a school counselor or a teacher at school, to kind of role play those social situations. That comes up a lot. So, I've gone to quite a few IEP meetings where we talk about that and different types of social situations that happen in college. So one example is if you're living in the dorms and your roommate is being really loud at 1 a.m. gaming. How are you going to handle that situation? There's good ways to go about that, but there's also some things that might have a negative consequence going about that. So doing role playing and knowing what to say in different situations is definitely going to be helpful. We have a healthy relationships course at OAPE where our students and the Succeed program and the Link Certificate program take. And it's super helpful to learn about having healthy relationships, learning about boundaries, and all of those social skills that are going to be important for college. And they do a lot of role playing in that class to just practice what those skills look like. We also have coaches too that do a lot of role playing and practicing, like, hey, if this situation comes up, what can you do or say to make sure you're advocating for yourself?
I do. I can remember the first cohort of students that moved in 11 years ago. And I think the most difficult thing for them was not having that scheduled day. So, parents, one thing I would encourage you to do is to turn over some responsibility to your kids for planning social activities with a friend,
Yeah.
for developing a hobby that they can enjoy on their own without having somebody be at their elbow all the time. And because those are the things that are going to help them when they suddenly see 4 hours looming ahead on a Saturday afternoon. They have some choices. They can pull out their their knitting, or they can call a friend. So I think that those are really cool skills for young people of any ability to be able to turn to. Somebody's asking, at what age can you start doing campus tours with your child?
Anytime. We had, I think it was last spring, I had a sixth grader come to our open house and I really enjoyed it. I wanted to, I talked to them individually with their family and they said, I know it's far away, but we just kind of want to know what options are out there for my student who has a disability and know that they can get supported and college is an option for them. So there is no time that's too early. I really enjoy meeting students who are still younger, middle school, even to come visit. There's really no time. Even after high school, if you've graduated and you took some time off, you can still come to college. It's still available to you. You could be 35, you could whatever age after 18, you can come to college and I definitely come visit anytime you want. Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes I think just participating in community events on that campus give people a sense of what a college campus looks like, because so many times people with disabilities have that very concrete understanding of places and spaces, and to be able to go to a movie screening on campus, or to drive onto the campus to go to something at the Two Hill, I think
Mm-hmm.
can be really good ways for people to start recognizing this is a specific kind of place that I could be a part of.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about preparing students, because one of the things that I think is often a challenge is that you don't have an IEP that drives your accommodations. You have to walk through a door and say, I need this kind of accommodation. And to me, that means that our families need to start having conversations about the supports their family members need. Maybe not,
Mhm.
this is what autism looks like,
Right.
but you need this type of support because of this, and making sure their students start to own that a little bit. I've kind of just rambled. What do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, absolutely. So, I think I mentioned this earlier. I've gone to quite a few IEP meetings for students in high school wanting to come to college. And something that I've noticed is that students are taking ownership of their IEP meetings. So they have a presentation, they're talking about, yes, they're talking about what they need, how they're doing, what's next, goal setting. That is perfect planning for coming to college. So in college, we don't have IEP meetings, but something that we do in our office is person-centered planning. So we do talk to families and their student and talk about what your goals are, what you want to accomplish, and how you're going to accomplish those things. And it really starts off with that IEP meeting and leading those. Something that that students might be nervous about, but once they take ownership of that transition to knowing what they want, knowing what they need is a little smoother for sure.
And if your school hasn't talked about student-led IEPs, I'm really excited that Caitlin brought that up. There are ways for kindergartners to take one small piece of that meeting all the way up through running your whole meeting with a PowerPoint. So we would be happy to support you at the ARC to try and start working towards more student-driven planning meetings, because they are way more interested in achieving the goals they set. We all are.
Yep.
I'm going to ask one more question because we're about out of time, and
Sure.
just say, you in the student panel at the transition meeting, they talked about the benefits of peer mentoring. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how that influences life on college campuses?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I even talked about this too, finding a mentor, a peer mentor that
Yeah.
is someone who I found. And really, I really turned everything around at UMSL once I found her. She really helped supported me through all the things I was struggling with, and we even celebrated together. But really finding that person or people that you can rely on and get support from. UMSL has something called the Social Peers Program, where students in our program are paired with other students at UMSL and they go to different events together. They do meetups. They'll go and grab coffee together. It's really just finding somebody that you can connect with, and really having something in common with them. You're both at UMSL, you're both students. And it's really good to find that person. It really helped me, and I've seen it at UMSL as well. We've had students in the social peers program together where they're paired up. They ended up living together in the university apartments. So those types of relationships are very valuable in your college journey. Absolutely.
I love that. And there's a ton of research that peer learning and peer support is valuable in elementary school, middle school, and high school. So again, something to advocate for. If you're not seeing deliberate engagement between students in your kiddos' classrooms, that's something that you can speak up and say, I think that this would be a great opportunity for all students, because the facts are students without disabilities, their grades go up too when there's peer support and peer mentoring. What a great conversation. I love talking about planning and getting excited for college. We did have a question in the chat earlier about how to find out about the transition fair and other important dates at UMSL. What I said, and I wanted to repeat online, is that you can find out through the ARCS newsletter, but also the OIP team is really good on social media. So look them up on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, you're going to find their post about all the different cool things that are going on. Or you can contact Caitlin directly and say, hey,
Yeah.
I know this is a spring event. It's January. When is this going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Please reach out for any types of questions, comments, concerns, or planning. If you want me to come to an IUP meeting, or you just want to sit and chat with me about things, please, I'm more than happy to do that.